Okay, guys, today is the May 21st, and today's equations involving multiple angles, okay? All right, so we have a problem like this. Solve sine of 2 theta is equal to negative 1/2. Now, we learned double angle identities, right, for this, but it wouldn't do us any good in this, okay? So what we need to do is this. We're gonna solve this as if it was sine of theta is equal to negative 1/2, okay? But this is telling me I'm gonna have to go around more than one rotation to get all of the possible angles, okay? So right here, I know that theta has to be between 0 and 2 pi. That's what this is telling me. So what would 2 theta have to be? Well, we can convert this to 2 theta, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by 2, this by 2, and this by 2 because that inequality would still hold. So 0 times 2 would still be 0, less than or equal to 2 times theta would be 2 theta, and then less than 2 times 2 pi would be 4 pi. Okay, so we need, when we solve this, we're going to need to solve this for all the angles between 0 and 4 pi, which is actually 2 full times going around. Okay, all right, so what we're going to do is we get it down to something like this. Okay, and then where is sine going to be negative? Okay, so we're going to draw a diagram. Okay, and this is telling me that the y is going to be negative 1 and the r is going to be 2 because that's what the sine ratio is. It's y over r. So I know that's going to happen down here where y could be negative 1 and my r would be 2, or it could also happen down here. Y would be negative 1 and r would be 2. Okay, if this side is 1 and this side is 2, this side would have to be the square root of 3, but because we're going left and down, it has to be negative square root of 3. And this side has to be square root of 3, and is it positive or is it negative? Well, we're going right and down to get to this point, so it would have to be positive square root of 3. Okay, so now, what is this reference angle? Well, the angle that's always opposite the 1 here is going to be pi over 6. So the reference angle is pi over 6. Okay, so this is kind of like solving sine of theta is equal to negative 1/2. Okay, if we solve sine of theta is equal to negative 1/2, it'd only be these two angles. Okay, and we'd be done. But we're going to go to 4 pi, and it's not going to be theta, it's going to be 2 theta. Okay, so here we go. So 2 theta could be equal to, and we rotate to this angle. Now, remember, this is 6 pi over 6, right? And this would be 0, and this would be 12 pi over 6, right? Okay, so if we rotate starting right here on the positive x-axis and we rotate to right here, that would give me 7 pi over 6. So one of the angles is 7 pi over 6. Okay, keep going. Okay, if we go all the way to here, that's 12 pi over 6, but that's too far of a rotation to get this angle, right? So we've got to back off. So it'd be 11 pi over 6. Okay, and that's going around once, and we're not to 4 pi yet, right? These have to be under 4 pi, and they are, but we can actually give more than that. Okay, so if we keep going, okay, this was 12 pi over 6, this would be 18 pi over 6, and we need to go one more, so that would be 19 pi over 6. Okay, that's still okay. So this is going to be, if it's 6, this is going to be 24, and that's where we would have everything below that, right? Because 24 pi over 6 is 4 pi. Okay, so keep going. If this is 18 pi over 6, then this would have to be 24 pi over 6. Okay, but that's too much because I got to back off a pi over 6. So then that would be 23 pi over 6. And that would still be under this 4 pi, okay? Because 24 pi over 6 is the 4 pi, okay? All right, we're not done yet because they're asking you to solve this for angle theta, right? Okay, but we're home free pretty much, okay? So what we need to do next is to get theta by itself. These are my 4 angles for 2 theta. Well, what would be my angles for theta? Well, I'd multiply this by half, and this is an equation, right? So then I would multiply each of these by a half. So if I multiply 2 theta by 1/2, that would give me theta is equal to, and if I take half of this, you know, I'm going to actually write it. So 1/2 times 7 pi over 6, comma, and then 1/2 times 11 pi over 6, and then 1/2 times 19 pi over 6, and then 1/2 times 23 pi over 6. Okay, so then that would give me theta is equal to, and I'm running out of ink, so hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, back. All right, so 1/2 times 7 pi over 6 would be 7 pi over 12, comma 1/2 11 pi over 6 would be 11 pi over 12, 19 pi over 12, and this would be 23 pi over 12. Okay. Okay, so for this problem, we want to solve 2 cosine of theta over 2 plus the square root of 3 is equal to 0. So we want to get this cosine of theta over 2 isolated. So we want to get it by itself. So we're going to subtract square root of 3 from both sides. So this would give us 2 times cosine of theta over 2 is equal to negative square root of 3. Okay, and then divide both sides by 2 or multiply both sides by 1/2. And then cosine of theta over 2 is equal to negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, now our angle is theta over 2. It's not theta, right? Okay, so we need to convert this restriction to what theta can be to a restriction with theta over 2, like we did in the first example, okay? So the way to do this, to make this theta be theta over 2, we're just going to multiply the left, the middle, and the right by 1/2, okay? And that would give us 0 is less than or equal to theta over 2, which is less than 1/2 times 2 pi, which would just be pi, okay? So now we're going to draw a diagram for this, okay? And then the diagram, I'm going to do it right here, okay? So my diagram, I'm going to figure out, okay, so where could the cosine ratio be negative, right? And it's going to be in the second quadrant and the third quadrant because this x right here is going to be negative, okay? So I'm going to draw one of my rectangles, or I keep saying rectangles, triangles here, and one right here, okay? And I kind of draw them big just so I can draw the angle in here, the reference angle. Okay, it doesn't have to be to scale. All right, so this is telling me my x is negative square root of 3. Here's my right angle for both triangles. And my radius is 2. We should recognize that. So this is positive 1, and this one is negative 1. So that means this angle, this reference angle, is pi over 6, because pi over 6 is always the one that's opposite 1. Always. Okay? All right, so now this is 0, and this is pi, right? Okay, so the only one we can use for this, so theta over 2, the only one we can use is this one, okay? And that would be, this would be 6 pi over 6, so I got to back up a pi over 6, so that would be 5 pi over 6, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do this one too, just to show you, like, this one will not work. It won't fit into this one, okay? So I'm going to do a different color just to show you that this won't work, okay? So let's say we kept going and we listed this one, right? And we listed, this would be 7 pi over 6. Okay, so how would we go about solving this, right? Okay, so we would need to get theta by itself. So I need to multiply both sides of this equation by 2, right? So that would mean theta would have to be 2 times 5 pi over 6, which would be 10 pi over 6. And if I did this other one, okay, I'd multiply by 2 and I'd have 14 pi over 6, right? Okay, now these can reduce. Okay, so what is 10 pi over 6? Because they're both even, right? So this would be 5 pi over 3. So theta would equal 5 pi over 3. Okay, so what would this one be? Okay, so if we reduce this one, this would be 7 pi over 3, right? And what do we know about 7 pi over 3? Well, 6 pi over 3, this would be 6 pi over 3 right here, right? Because that's 2 pi. And we're already past this 2 pi. So that's why when we do this restriction, we don't have to worry about putting a whole bunch of others. Just look for that one, right? So I'm going to cross this out because those aren't answers, because this is telling me that theta has to be between 0 and 2 pi. So I don't need these, right? I only needed 5 pi over 6, okay? I only needed that one because that was the restriction on theta over 2, okay? If the restriction for theta is between 0 and 2 pi, theta over 2 would have to be between 0 and pi, okay? So this is our only answer for this problem. It's 5 pi over 3, okay? Based on these restrictions on theta, okay? All right, let's go to example number 3. Okay, so this equation is solve tan of 3 theta is equal to -1 for 0 less than theta less than 2 pi, okay? Now, this isn't a ratio, but we could write it as a ratio, right? So this would be tan of 3 theta is equal to -1 over 1, right? Okay. Now, we're going to be solving for 3 theta, right? And so we got to adjust this restriction to 3 theta. So I'd have to multiply all of these by 3, right? So 3 times 0 is 0, less than or equal to 3 theta, less than, and then 3 times 2 pi would be 6 pi, right? Okay. Okay, so what does this mean? I'm going to have to go 3 times around to get all the answers for this, okay? To get all the answers, I'm going to have to go around the unit circle 3 times, okay? So I'm going to draw my diagram over here, okay? Now, tangent is the ratio of y over x, so one of them has to be negative and one of them has to be positive, right? So I'm not going to draw in the first quadrant because y and x are both positive there. I'm going to draw one of my triangles in the second quadrant, because in the second quadrant, I know the x here would be -1, the y would be 1, and based on those, right, I would know this is the square root of 2, okay? And I would also know this reference angle is pi over 4. So that's one of them, that's one of the triangles, okay, or one of the angles of rotation that would give me this ratio of -1 over 1. I wouldn't draw it in here because both x and y are negative, which would cause it to be a positive ratio, okay? So the other one is going to be right here. Okay, and in this case, I know my x is 1 and my y is -1, and that relationship, the radius or hypotenuse, is always the square root of 2. The reference angle is pi over 4. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to go around, okay, and we're going to go, this would be 0, right? And this would be 4 pi over 4. Okay, so because that's the same as pi, okay? So here we go, 3 theta would equal, okay? So 4 pi over 4 is too much rotation. I would have to back off of pi over 4. So that would be 3 pi over 4, comma, keep going, right? This would be, if I went all the way around once, this would be 8 pi over 4, but that's too much rotation for this one. I got to back off. So that'd be 7 pi over 4. Okay, then back over here, this would be 12 pi over 4. But that's too much rotation, right? Got to back off of pi over 4. So this would be 11 pi over 4. So every rotation, I should say this, every rotation, I'm going to get 2 angles, right, that work, okay? So keep going. If this is 12 pi over 4, then this would be 16 pi over 4. And once again, that's too much rotation, so I'd have to back off of pi over 4. So this angle is 15 pi over 4. And I have now gone all the way to 4 pi, right? But I need to go all the way to 6 pi to get all the answers, right? Okay, so now I'm going to keep going. Okay, so if this was 16 pi over 4, and then this would have to be 20 pi over 4. Once again, that's too much rotation. I got to back it off of pi over 4. So this would be 19 pi over 4. Okay, if this is 20 pi over 4, this would be 24 pi over 4. And 24 pi over 4 is the 6 pi, right? If you reduce that, that's 6 pi. Okay, but 24 pi over 4 is too much rotation. Again, I'd have to back off of pi over 4. So 23 pi over 4. Hopefully this is starting to make sense and it's getting easier for you, okay? Okay, so these are all the angles that solve 3 theta, right? Okay, 3 theta could be any of these angles, all right? Now, what I want to do next is multiply to get theta. Okay, to get theta by itself, I'd have to multiply by 1/3. So I'd have to multiply this one by 1/3, this one by 1/3, all of these by 1/3, right? So that would give me 3 pi over 12, 7 pi over 12, 11 pi over 12, 15 pi over 12, 19 pi over 12, and 23 pi over 12. Okay, now do any of these reduce? Because we want to reduce it, right? This one does, right? So this is the same as pi over 4. So theta would equal pi over 4, 7 pi over 12, 11 pi over 12, 15 pi over 12, 19 pi over 12, and 23 pi over 12. Okay, so there's 6 answers to this. Okay, now I want to keep in mind, right, this is theta, right, and the restrictions were that theta had to be between 0 and 2 pi. Okay, in 12ths, 2 pi would be 24 pi over 12. So all of these are indeed, right, and you can really tell here, well, this one, okay, all of these are under 24 pi over 12, because 24 pi over 12 is 2 pi, right? All of these are less than 2 pi. There's a lot of them, okay? Okay, and the reason, one of the reasons is, okay, from 0 to 2 pi, remember this is the horizontal stretch or shrink, right? And this would be a horizontal compression by a factor of 1/3. So our period is getting shorter, so we're going to have more periods between 0 and 2 pi, right? So you're going to have more answers, okay? All right? And that's why, okay? Because it's shrinking, so you're going to see more answers from 0 to 2 pi because the period of it has shrunk, okay? That has to do with like the last unit we did, okay? Okay, let's do the next problem and we'll be done. Okay, so this problem is going to be like more upfront of like a little bit harder, okay? So what I want to do is first, okay, I noticed that I can reduce this a little bit, right? Okay, because this came from combining two fractions with a common denominator of 2, okay? So this is -2 plus cosine of 2 theta is equal to, and so this would be -4 over 2, and then minus the square root of 3 over 2. Well, what's this one? -2, right? Okay, so this would be -2 plus cosine of 2 theta is equal to -2 minus the square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so what happens now is that these two are going to cancel out, right? Because we're going to add 2 here and we're going to add 2 here. So we get cosine of 2 theta is equal to negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, now what are the restrictions? Well, we're not finding the angle theta, right? I mean, at the end we are, but at first we're gonna solve for angle 2 theta. But to solve for angle 2 theta, I need to know what my restrictions are, right? So this would be 0 less than or equal to 2 theta, which is less than 4 pi. So I'm gonna look for all the angles between 0 and 4 pi, which is 2 full rotations. I gotta go around twice, okay? So if I go around twice, okay, so where's cosine negative? Well, cosine's negative in these two, right? Okay, so we're going to draw this in. Okay, so I know my x is negative square root of 3. So here's a right angle, here's a right angle. Here's 2, here's 2. This is 1, this is -1, okay? And we know that this angle right here, this reference angle, is again pi over 6. So this one's pi over 6, right? Okay, so we're going to need to go around twice, okay? So 2 theta is equal to, okay, so this would be 0, okay, and this would be, if we count by pi over 6s, right, this would be 6 pi over 6. That's too much rotation, got to back off, right? So it'd be 5 pi over 6. Okay, 6 pi over 6, that's not enough rotation to get this one. I need to go another pi over 6, so that'd be 7 pi over 6. Okay, so if this is 6 pi over 6, then coming back to here would be 12 pi over 6, right? Keep going, this would be 18 pi over 6. And for this angle, that'd be too much rotation, right? So we got to back off, and it'd be 17 pi over 6. comma. And okay, then 18 pi over 6, right? If that's 18 pi over 6, I got to go one more pi over 6 to get to this angle. So that'd be 19 pi over 6. Okay. And then over here, I'm to, if this was 18 pi over 6, this would be 24 pi over 6. And I'm at 4 pi, right? I'm already, 24 pi over 6 is 4 pi. So that's it, right? So we listed them all, okay? Now, how do I get theta by itself? Well, I'm going to have to half each of these, right? Okay. So theta would equal 5 pi over 12, 7 pi over 12, 17 pi over 12, and 19 pi over 12. Have I gone over 2 pi? No, I haven't gone over 2 pi, right? Because that's my restriction is theta can't be more than 2 pi, right? Because 2 pi in 12ths would be 24 pi over 12. Well, 19 pi over 12 is smaller than 24 pi over 12. So yeah, we've got them, right? And so there's my 4 answers to this problem, okay? All right, it's a lot like solving simple trig equations that we did back 2 units ago, right? In the trig function unit. Okay, we did that at the very end. So it's that coming back. It's just these angles in here are going to be multiple angles like 2 theta or theta over 2 or one of those. Okay. All right, guys. So that's it for today. Let me grab the assignment sheet and you can get started on it. Okay. Okay. So what I want you to do is for today is worksheet TEI 10 and solving multiple angle trig equations. And then tomorrow's the last day, guys, the last assignment. Okay. And I should tell you, I'm gonna accept assignments, late assignments, all the way to like June 3rd. You guys, and you don't have to send me like, Mr. Mitchell, I'm so sorry I can't get my work done today. Don't. It's okay. It's okay. All right. It's no big deal. We just need to have it wrapped up by like June 3rd. Okay, because I have to have grades in by June 5th. Okay. But if you give me something June 5th, I will do everything I can to get it in. Okay, and improve your grade. Okay, but grades are really frozen. Okay, all you'll see is your percent goes up. Okay, that's all. Okay. All right. So you guys, I'm really proud of you. Okay, and I cannot tell you. I can't believe how many of you want to take calculus. All right, there's over 50 people that want to take calculus. Like that is huge. It might be one of the biggest numbers we've ever had. Okay, so I'm happy that you guys are willing to challenge yourself even in this ridiculous time that we're in. Okay. All right. So you guys take care. Have a great, blessed day. All right. Bye-bye.